Hello, I'm here at the Microsoft Digital Wallet Foundry, and I'm speaking to one of the participants at the hackathon, Richard Conway of Elastacloud. Now, you assisted the winning team from Lloyds with their loyalty banking app that they're planning to in the future, offer to merchants in the Lloyd network. So what did you bring to their project and to the team?
That's right. I think I considered the cloud piece in isolation, and what I did was I tied the mobile phone to the cloud. So one of the things that you can drive is things like push notifications and identity out of the box. So we can sort of model single sign-in processes using the cloud. We can connect it to Microsoft accounts or Twitter or any kind of login. And then we can loosely couple everything so that we don't have to wait a long time for requests, and we can use fundamental infrastructure pieces for a mobile phone like push notifications and then just drive them from the cloud. So that when processing has been done with the bank, it will just send a push notification back, it will update a tile, it will send you a message in your application, and we can drive this from Windows Azure, which has the fundamental infrastructure that you don't have to build yourself.
I mean, yeah, of course, banking infrastructure, banking systems have to be very secure, and there's a lot of barriers to connecting the app on the phone to the internal banking system, like at Lloyds. What are some of the challenges with that, and how does cloud kind of help overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges. You have to generally jump through a lot of compliance hurdles just to get your data into the cloud, so it's not always appropriate for various lines of businesses. Now, in the case of banking, having data in the cloud is an absolute no-no. So you need to work out a secure way to access it. Now, 9 times out of 10, there's firewalls and there's intrusion detection systems. The bank borders are actually very protected, so it's very hard for applications to tunnel into a bank to even get a simple response like whether or not a customer is creditworthy. So in this case, what we're doing is we're using Windows Azure, or the Microsoft Cloud, as a gateway to facilitate this, because we can create these secure connections, which means that we give the user a facade to connect to the cloud, and then the cloud will do all the secure connectivity, and the user, the mobile device in this case, won't even be touching the Lloyds TSB architecture.
So you mentioned to me before that you work with a lot of other financial services companies bringing cloud to banking applications. What have you been working on lately?
So we've recently done a project for a startup company called CloudSync that have released a mobile payments application. And they've done this across the spectrum of phones, but I think the interesting part in this case is how they've used the cloud. They realised that they couldn't afford to build an infrastructure that would scale like a big bank, but they wanted to accept mobile payments from small retailers and effectively have a lot of these retailers on volume to make their money. And as a result, they added consumer loyalty, they added voucher systems off of the back of this, and we stored securely all of this data in Windows Azure. But we also used some of the infrastructure that we employed for the Lloyds project in the same way. So we've tied into identity. So for example, the merchants automatically have the capability of the enterprise. Microsoft has an Active Directory, which is an enterprise scale authentication identity systems. And we use this for the merchant to log in and generate voucher schemes and generate loyalty schemes and these kinds of things. And it scales. It scales to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of users, an infrastructure that would normally cost you millions to put in place. So in the case of startups, it's absolutely perfect, because one of the things that you can do is you can just consume the amount of resources that you need rather than having to buy a lot of expensive equipment up front. I think for the mobile payment space, where the cloud gets really interesting is to be able to take all of this data generated from transactions, from logins, where people are and which stores they're involved in, and then generate some kind of big data piece where you can go through petabytes of information, because storage is very, very cheap in the cloud, and just work out the best thing for that consumer. So you can send them push notifications based on recommendations. You can apply machine learning and all kinds of things which are really resource constricted. So big companies like Amazon, the bookseller, or Netflix have been doing this traditionally, but I think now with scale available to everybody, it makes it very, very easy for the smallest company or the largest company to either build a production system or prototype this in a very short amount of time.